3, 2, 1. Hello, welcome to Did You Watch Survivor Last Night? My name is Jake Scheidel. This is a podcast about reality TV and friendship and jokes we could have made. Each week I talk about a certain reality show with my best friend, Thomas Powell, who, for the second time ever, we're in the same room. Ever. Not just for recording this podcast, just ever. This is the second time we've ever been in the same room.
Reunited, and it feels so good. You know that song, Change Locations?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jake and I are both big fans because we both changed locations for where we record, and we went to the same location.
We did. We met halfway. And by halfway, I mean my parents' house. That's about 5 minutes from Thomas's house.
Change locations, change clothes. It's another fine hip-hop song.
Changes by Bowie.
Meet Me Halfway, as you said earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Fine Black Eyed Peas song.
Indeed. I will say every Black Eyed Peas song is a fine Black Eyed Peas song.
They've really aged like a fine wine.
Oh, this one time, can I tell you this quick story? This one time I was at a party, and it was a New Year's party, and I kissed this girl at midnight, right? And we go back to another person's place, and that song...
You changed locations.
We changed locations. What I'm trying to say is we changed locations. It's gonna be a good night. What's that song called? Tonight's gonna be a good night. I got a feeling. I got a feeling.
It's a classic.
So that line comes up. It's gonna be a good night, or whatever it is. And this girl looks over at me, and is like, wink. I'm like,
oh man,
I got you.
It's a moment that'll last forever.
Yeah.
That's and when you can get that sweet David Guetta production.
That was 2 or 3 years ago, and I haven't talked to her since, and she just followed me on Instagram a few weeks ago.
Hey.
So that was weird.
Maybe maybe you should listen to Wanna Be Startin' Something by Michael Jackson.
Maybe you should. I think Man in the Mirror would be a better song for us. Also, I'm pretty sure I was in the window of the 2 weeks she wasn't with her boyfriend. So that was cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I think she's still with him. Army man. I don't know why I'm talking about this anymore.
This has been Jake's Personal Life podcast.
Great show. So Thomas, I've got a question for you.
Fire away.
Did you watch Survivor last night?
I actually watched Survivor this morning.
I was asleep on your couch while you were watching
crashing at my place. Then we changed locations again to your parents' house.
So many locations.
Look, it's logistics.
UPS. Is it UPS?
No, it's totally... no, it is UPS.
It is. What can Brown do for you?
Yeah.
What can Jerry Brown do for you? Who's Jerry Brown?
Jerry Brown was the governor of California. I think he might actually be the governor of California again.
Really?
Yeah, he wasn't for a while, and then he was again.
Garfield? Was it Garfield who was the president and then not president and then president again?
No, Garfield was assassinated. That was...
yeah, and then he came back and was president again.
That was Grover Cleveland.
Cleveland
took a sabbatical in between presidential terms. And then was fortunate enough to run against William Jennings Bryan, the worst loser in political history. Lost every significant political thing because he was the defense attorney for the Scopes monkey trial. I almost called it the Snopes monkey trial.
Do monkeys exist?
If you went to
Snopes
and typed in Snopes monkey trial, it would probably tell you that that's not the name of the trial.
You're looking for the wrong thing.
But
Jerry Brown is the governor of California.
This is how long ago Jerry Brown was governor the first time. The Dead Kennedys reference him in the song California Uber Alles, which came out in the 70s. I think he was the governor after. I think he was the governor that followed Reagan when Reagan left office.
Oh, to be president.
Yes.
Like Grover Cleveland.
Yep.
He was also president.
Callback.
This week's episode was called It's Psychological Warfare. Which is a quote.
We're finally on track.
Back on the wagon. Is that the phrase?
I think, off the wagon is a phrase. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the inverse is true.
Well, I don't care. I'm going to use phrases that I think should exist.
Take that, cliches.
Yeah. So, starting off at camp, Scott says that the Braun alliance is over. Now it's just him, Jason, and Ty. Which... is as many people as the Braun Alliance was.
I mean, really,
So you're not in a bad position.
Yeah, when they were rotating people out of the NWO and WCW, they weren't saying it was over if they didn't have Scott Hall or whatever.
So Jason says he plans to use the Super Idol at the next tribal council. It's foreshadowing. In that he said exactly what he was going to do.
Yeah.
That's what foreshadowing is.
That's some Zack Snyder foreshadowing. Zack Snyder uses film tropes in the most obvious way possible.
He has done it.
Zack Snyder would have a gun on the wall that said Chekhov's gun underneath it.
Where did you get this gun? Oh, I bought it from this guy named Chekhov.
It's the third act, and I can't believe you shot me using Chekhov's gun.
What a surprise! So this is where the episode title comes from. The boys plan to take away the girls' food and axe and machete, and Jason calls it psychological warfare.
Jason talks about his time as a bounty hunter, but this is what he excels at, cutting people off from their resources and isolating them.
Yes.
Real Dog the Bounty Hunter.
He's a regular dog. He's probably the best Dog the Bounty Hunter in Southeast Michigan.
Renew Dog the Bounty Hunter from when it was canceled, then cancel it, then renew it but replace it with Jason and call it Jason the Bounty Hunter.
That's a pretty good title for a show.
Wait. Sorry, I agree. I have a better title.
Okay.
Chasin Jason the Bounty Hunter.
But
his nickname is Chasin Jason now. I just coined it. Yeah, because he's the one. It's really, I mean, I think it's great because it rhymes, but also it describes what he does.
The only issue I have with that is it sounds like somebody's chasing Jason.
Oh, okay.
So you have to be clear if it's an adjective.
It's implying that maybe we're But in a way, aren't we?
We are. The cameraman is.
I know that. The cameraman is our eyes, and it definitely feels like we're chasing Jason.
So Ty thinks that this plan is extreme, but is willing to go along with it.
The theme of the entire episode for Ty. This is kind of fucked up. I guess I'm already committed to this, though.
I'm in it, I guess. All right. The next morning, Scott and Jason wake up early for their sabotage. And when Debbie wakes up, she calls last night's tribal council beautiful. Which I wouldn't mention if I didn't know what was happening in this week's tribal council.
Sounds like Debbie's real confident.
She's pretty confident about the last tribal council. So she goes and looks for the machete and the axe, but can't find them. Michelle calls it sabotage. Beastie Boys. She calls it sabotage Beastie Boys.
That would be great if she just... This is what would happen if either of us was on Survivor. I would make my favorite joke to make that no one ever finds funny, but I will find it funny forever, which is where I'll go up to someone and say, "How you doing? Joey, friends." And sometimes say, "Great show."
I would try to implement as many pop culture references and say exactly what they are at any given opportunity.
Yeah. I would also probably break out the... there's a running joke that Jake and I have with one of our friends where we will describe something and then say, "Oh, it's like in that movie." It would be like, "Oh, this guy tunneled his way out of prison like that movie," and you think I would say Shawshank Redemption, but I just say Driving Miss Daisy. Every single time. Try it out with your friends. It's a really good joke.
It's actually a really funny joke. What was, the "What's Up Tiger Lily" joke? Do you remember that?
No, we're not talking about that.
It's not.
We don't have 20 minutes of this podcast to devote to this.
It's not fun if you haven't. It's not fun if you are only if you are with.
Are you familiar with the concept of a Shaggy Dog story? That's what it is. We're cool.
The Shaggy Dog, Tim Allen.
Great film.
The best film, you might say.
Well, no, the best film is Old Dogs.
Old Dogs.
By the way, follow. If you want a fine Instagram account, follow Old Dogs 2009. It's my fan account for the movie Old Dogs.
What do you post on that?
I posted a picture of them, of Robin Williams and John Travolta laughing, sitting next to each other at computers, and the caption just reads, "Sequel when?" Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part of making this account has been looking up photos for Old Dogs, because I would say in about at least 40%, but probably more, of the promotional photos that they did, John Travolta is either holding one hand up as if to say, "What's the deal with this guy? Come on," or holding two hands up, outstretched, like what you gonna do? Who, me? Every single photo.
And you love this movie.
It's like someone said, John, we need you to be funny in this picture. And that was his only move. I can do one hand or two, that's all I got.
Was he in Look Who's Talking?
I think he was.
Was that the only comedy he's ever been in?
In that movie, was he constantly putting his hands out and being like, "Oh,
he always does
that.
He always does that smirk, like,
oh man,
get a load of Kirstie Alley over here.
Crazy.
I remember when she was on Cheers for half of it.
Can you believe that Robin Williams is the buttoned up one in this?
What an Odd Couple. Odd Couple, CBS.
Yes,
2014 to current.
Not as good as the Rush Hour show that definitely needed to be made.
That looks so bad.
There is a point where Trill Withers, who's one of my favorite follows on Twitter, just spent an entire night dragging the Rush Hour CBS Twitter account, which had like...
Who was asking for that?
It had like 700 followers, too, but they kept posting all these promotional photos from it. You know what I really want is a television program based off of a movie franchise that ended 10 years ago.
They must have, like, just had a bunch... Like, they had that, they had, like, Yumi and Dupree, they had...
Why wouldn't they go with Yumi and Dupree? It's a much more sustainable show.
They couldn't get Dupree. They couldn't get Owen Wilson with the
They could not get the Owen Wilson typecasting that they needed.
But they must have just, like, picked a name of a movie from the mid-2000s.
Was Matthew Lillard not doing anything?
He's probably doing Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo, probably the SLC Punk sequel that is actually happening.
Yeah. Who was asking for that? Actually, a lot of people.
SLC Punk's a good movie. Also, Matthew Lillard, I'm glad that you made money getting typecast in the early to mid-2000s. There was a while where I really disliked you. Matthew Lillard seems like a cool guy. Yeah. I feel the same way about him that I feel about Dax Shepard, which is like, good on you making that money.
Yeah.
You're a cool guy.
I've never had a problem with Dax Shepard. When I was really into the first incarnation of Punk'd, he was on that.
Yeah, he was the best part of that.
He made fun of Hillary Duff for not knowing how to drive. That was really funny. And then he kind of disappeared for a little bit, and then he came back on Parenthood, and it was great.
Dax Shepard he made Without a Paddle, Jake. He was in several movies.
Excuse me. I forgot.
Also with Matthew Lillard.
I was going to say, wasn't Matthew Lillard?
Yeah, that's where they crossed
what's his
paths.
name from Robot Chicken and Family Guy?
Oh, Seth Green.
Yeah,
Seth Green, also a star of the movie Old Dogs.
2009. All right, so Michelle calls it Sabotage Beastie Boys, and then says, within 20 minutes we figure out a new method, and they cook a coconut and chop it with a saw, and everybody's really excited. So Scott is annoyed with their bragging and pours water on the fire. All of the water.
Scott is sulking so hard. The editing on that was so perfect. Just looking at him, side-eyeing them the entire time. Oh, my stupid plan didn't work. I hate it.
God.
I've turned on Scott's dead to me, even though he's a basketball man.
He is the worst. I was really pulling for him. But, yeah, get him out of there.
No, him and Jason are enormous assholes.
Yeah. Well, I would have to guess that Scott has an enormous asshole.
He's
a tall guy.
He's a very large man.
He's a pretty tall guy. So then Michelle and Joe get started on restarting the fire. Ty says it's going to be hard for him to watch them do these things. Then we get to the reward challenge. Jeff asks them how camp life is going. And Aubrey says, I feel like the Cold War's ended and there's missiles going back and forth. Have you noticed how much Aubrey loves to speak in metaphors?
She's into it. She's on the Brains tribe.
Yeah. She's like, what's his name from last season, but with metaphors instead of cliches.
Oh, it was Spencer?
Yeah. Spencer Bledsoe. Was that his name?
I almost said Spencer Rice, but that was the dude from Kenny vs. Spenny. So no, I think Spencer Bledsoe is correct.
Okay. That name is in my head, but he might be the governor of California. It's a pretty good callback. Yeah, I don't know why you didn't respond to that.
That's why I 2 seconds of silence because I respected that joke so much.
Scott says that they were sending a message, which is dumb. He says that
the message was "we're dicks."
Yeah. He says that they have coconuts because he will lift Ty into the tree, and then Ty will grab the coconuts. And Sydney goes, "I can climb a damn tree."
Jeff is loving this drama, by the way. He's eating it up.
This is like early 2000s Survivor shit right here.
Jeff legitimately is rooting for one of them to kill another one.
It hasn't happened yet, but eventually. Do you remember when we talked about putting Survivor in space?
Yeah, Space Fiver.
Space Fiver. I would love to see them get... Imagine a balancing challenge on Space Fiver. That would be so tough.
In low gravity, it would be almost impossible.
Yeah, that'd be really difficult.
Or it'd be really easy if you had something to hold on to.
I forgot what I was going to say about that, so
Whatever.
let's just move on.
Moving on.
So they have to make 2 teams of 4, clip to some ropes, and then the ropes are all tied together. So they have to unspool the ropes from each other, and then knock down some balls off of a table. Since there's 9 people, Joe volunteers to sit out, and he gets to pick whoever he thinks will win.
Joe is the most useless. He does nothing at all except be stubborn sometimes in voting. What does he contribute in any way? He's always out of
number.
He's always out of challenges early, which I get. It's useful to have someone like that.
Yeah.
As like a buffer for you, but
yeah, he can't at this point. He can't make. He can't win.
Oh, he can't win.
He has done nothing to deserve.
He might honestly make the final 3 though, just because he's such a non-entity that you want him to come with you.
Yeah.
Or I think he'd probably make the final 4.
I don't know. I think it would depend on who the other 3 in the final 4 would be.
Yeah. If he somehow made the final 3, if Scott and Jason managed to get to the final 3,
which they might,
and Joe went with them, Joe would win.
Joe would absolutely.
So Joe could win if he did that.
Yeah, but if he were up against literally anyone else left in the game, he would lose.
No, he's going to get weeded out at some point.
Yeah,
eventually,
probably.
Stronger players will win out.
They always talk about who's on the bottom of the alliance, and I think Joe is on the bottom.
He is on the bottom.
He is below the bottom.
Yeah,
and people just forget he's in the alliance.
I think it's almost generous to say he's on the bottom because that would imply that he did anything to put himself there.
He's just still there. So since there's 9 people, Joe volunteers to sit out. He gets to pick whoever he thinks will win. If he's right, he gets to join them in the reward, which was Chinese food.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff was like, oh, this is like a thing you would do on a Friday night. I was like, or a fucking Wednesday morning. Like, who are you to tell me when to eat Chinese takeout, Jeff?
It's an anytime food, Jeff.
Yeah.
Don't judge me.
Chinese in the evening, Chinese in the morning, Chinese takeout anytime.
Truly is the bagel bites of Asian cuisine.
Ty, Jason, Scott get together, obviously, and then asks if any girl wants to join them. And Julie's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Then Joe picks the girls' team to win. The men's team unspool their ropes first and start throwing. The girls finish their ropes and start throwing. Gets pretty close, but not quite close enough. The boys win. And Aubrey says she can't trust Julia anymore.
I mean, I feel like you could have read that from the entire game that Julia has played.
Yeah.
Speaking of Aubrey getting metaphorical, said she's trying to stand in the middle. I think
I've got it later. It comes up later. But yeah, that's a really good.
In reference to how Julia is playing.
Yeah.
Just say it now.
Oh,
no reason not to say it now.
I thought it was later in the episode, but no, it's right here. Aubrey says Julia isn't someone who wants alliances. She wants to ride the middle to the end. But sometimes the guy in the middle of the road gets run over, and I hope it's her. It's a pretty solid quote.
No, it's a very good quote. I like Aubrey.
Yeah, me too.
I would like Aubrey to make it to the final 3. We'll see, though.
She has the gameplay.
Yeah, she does seem like she is. Her and Sydney are running the
absolutely.
Girl Alliance.
Yeah. Jason says that they are now on an upswing thanks to Julia. Julia wants to take Scott and Jason because they're so disliked. See, Julia, smarty pants. Smarty pants, Marty pants. Smart. Do you know how close I was to calling that episode Smart? I was so tempted. Debbie doesn't think that Julia flipped, but Sydney doesn't trust her. Ty says he's committed to the guys' alliance and puts out the fire in the middle of the night. And then comes up at the next morning and is like, oh, what happened?
You can tell he feels horrible about it as he's doing it. He's brought himself to do something terrible. While watching that, actually screamed, Ty, no! really loud. I was that stressed out about it.
Yeah. Debbie says that she wants Scott gone, and for good reason. He is terrible now. Boo, Scott Pollard.
Yeah, he's bad. Debbie really... I don't understand her as a person, because Aubrey tries to talk to her about eventually splitting the vote, or not splitting the vote, voting out Julia.
Yeah. And she's like,
and
no.
Debbie can't understand, because the entire strategy is to flush out any idols that those guys have, and Debbie first, very incorrectly says, there's no way they have an idol.
Yeah.
Well, we know, and the funny thing is they know that he does. Sydney knows that he has an idol.
Yeah.
So you're 100% wrong on that count, and then just will not accept that they might not be able to vote Scott or Jason out.
Yeah. Like, plan A for them would be to get an idol out. Plan B would be, they don't have an idol. Oh, Julia's gone, and no one could trust her anyway.
But Debbie just trusts her implicitly, even though Julia is very blatantly playing both sides.
Yeah. This is I remember how we were talking about how Debbie is such a good player. Oops, I guess not.
No, she's bad. Compared to someone like Nick, she's a pretty good player, but she's not great either. Very confident, though.
Very confident. Aubrey... Oh, Debbie says she wants Scott gone. Aubrey believes Scott extinguished the fire to put a target on himself rather than Julia, which I can see where she's coming from when she says that, but I think Scott extinguished the fire before Julia came over to their side.
I think that they thought that Scott did it again. I think that was the implication.
Oh, okay.
And I think it is perfectly indicative of their initial tribes, because naturally Aubrey, like, being a smart person, would think, oh, this is strategy on their part, whereas, no, it's just a thing that happened. It was just the Braun tribe being dicks.
Yeah. So, Thomas, I got some breaking news.
Oh my god, breaking news.
Breaking news, are you ready?
We have breaking news.
Breaking news.
Jake Scheidel is on the scene for some real-world roundup.
Real-world roundup. So, as you might recall from last week, somebody leaked some information about the roommates.
Oh, did we find out who?
On the internet. Well, you might remember... Chris said on Twitter that he did it, but we weren't sure if that was like a real thing, or if he was just messing with people. It's revealed if it was a real thing, or if he was just messing with people on Twitter in the future. So Jenna's still real mad about the leak. She's like, "You're gonna ruin my life by this leak on the internet. Also, this show exists."
Describing my behavior on this show that everyone can see.
She's like, "You're gonna ruin my life." It's like, but the show. You're on the show where you're being racist.
And also, I guess in her mind, if he's describing her actions incorrectly or trying to frame her in a certain way, wouldn't you just say, oh, we'll just wait for the show to come out, I'm not like that?
Yeah.
If you really aren't, then why don't you let the show speak for itself?
She's a drama-filled drama queen on a drama show.
Well, I would hope she would be a drama-filled drama queen. She's a stead. Very, very stoic drama queen.
At one point, CJ says, I don't remember exactly what started it, but she said, that's going to be the episode title. And then whatever she said wasn't the episode title. Like, how can you say that's the episode title and then not name the episode that?
It's like the editors were mad.
Yeah. No, we decide. Yeah. We decide.
You don't get to pick that.
And
they just edited together something like, I like to eat my own farts. I never said that. It's really obviously edited together.
There's so many different backgrounds.
The editors are high-fiving. That'll learn you. You fucked with the wrong editors.
All I said was this. I should name an episode this.
I didn't even... The farts is clearly edited together from 3 different words. I never even said farts. Where did you get that from?
But you did now. We got you.
We decide.
I never said...
We can make you say anything.
They like bring her into the confessional and they're like, here's the episode. And it's a clip of her saying, I eat my own farts. Got it together. And then she goes, I never said that. And the producer's like, you never said what? She says, I never said I eat my own farts. Like, oh, but we got you.
Oh, man, the old...
No, you did.
The old Vicky from Fairly Odd Parents gambit.
Oh, yeah?
That was a joke on that.
That she eats her own farts?
No, that you don't say something and then she records you having said
Oh,
it.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that now. That show is still on.
Fairly Odd Parents is still on?
Yeah, that show is still on.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was good in its prime. It was a good show.
Yeah, I think it's probably bad now.
Anything runs for that long, it's probably not going to be very good.
You either die a villain or see long enough to see yourself become a Fairly Odd Parent.
I do wonder if it's the same creative team, because that's the reason that SpongeBob eventually tanked after the movie, is because Steven Hillenburg, who is the creator and the primary writer, left, and they replaced him, and the show immediately got worse, and didn't have any of the charm that it used to have.
Well, that's too bad.
Apparently, he was one of the writers on the most recent movie, though, and that movie was apparently pretty good. Unsurprisingly,
It looked weird.
It did look really weird.
I didn't want to see it. So everybody claims they have nothing to do with the leak. Also, Dion's broke.
Oh no!
He lives off the land. He's awful. I hate this
Can't
person.
the producers just give him some money?
I don't know. I guess it causes more drama if they don't have money. But also, they're living in a suite in Las Vegas, so, like, who's paying for that?
Well, I feel like you're kind of obligated, too, because they're in this suite. I guess that you're provided with food or whatever, but...
I think...
They're also real world, they're not allowed to, like, do anything, are they?
They can get jobs. Nobody has this season yet.
Okay. Are they allowed to go on the internet and stuff? Because I know in Jersey Shore they weren't.
What about the whole leak thing? Of course they can go on the internet.
Right. They're just not supposed to say anything?
Yeah, they're... It all comes out what happened with that. I'll let you know.
Okay. I know with Jersey Shore there was a reason. The reason that they were always really bored looking and lying around is because they weren't allowed to
do anything
or go on the internet.
They didn't have TV. They didn't have internet. They had alcohol and each other. So a lot of drinking and fucking. I wish they'd cast me on that show.
On Jersey Shore?
Yeah, I fit that type, right?
It would be. Honestly, Jersey Shore would be great if you just had all of the people that you cast to type for Jersey Shore, and then just a guy.
Just some dude.
Hey, I'm
some guy named Dave.
I'm Jake Scheidel from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I live in Chicago now.
It seems like a fun time. I'm excited.
I'm a fair-skinned person who's never been to New Jersey.
Yeah, until now.
Until now.
So Jenna assumes that Kayla leaked this information, and there's a mission. I honestly don't remember if I'm doing this all in the right order, but who cares, you know?
Just have fun with it, you know?
Just have fun with it.
Sometimes you just gotta have fun with it.
This is Real World Roundup. It's all about having fun.
This roundup's running long, by the way.
Well, you know...
But you know what? Just go with it, you know?
Just gotta go with the flow.
Yeah. That's what the Queens of the Stone Age were talking about.
Go your own way.
That's what Fleetwood Mac were talking about.
You gotta go... I'm trying to think of another song that's so...
You gotta go, but with 3 O's, like Hudson Mohawk would tell you.
Okay. Their first mission is they have to let 3 tarantulas walk around on them for 60 seconds. Jenna and CJ, real scared of spiders, so... Yeah.
I'd do that.
Yeah. Like 60 seconds, that's not that long.
Tarantulas aren't like mean or anything either.
Yeah, especially if they're like not threatened.
There's a reason that people have them as pets.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they weren't venomous or anything because the producers wouldn't actually put you in danger.
Yeah. The spider wrangler, though, did say, all spiders are venomous, which I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
But he's a spider wrangler.
I think if you get bit by a tarantula, it's not like a big deal. It's the same thing with... It's the same thing with scorpions, I think, where the smaller ones are the ones you have to worry about.
Oh, yeah.
With spiders, you know, your black widows and your brown recluses aren't very big spiders. Because tarantulas are the type of things that they're taking down. They're big and they're bigger and they can overpower. I mean, we're people. We're so much bigger than them. What are they going to do?
So much bigger than a tarantula. Everybody makes it through this mission, so that's good. And then in a talking head, you ready for this? Chris admits to being part of the leak, and the producer asks him why he did this, and he said he wanted to start a national conversation about Mormonism. And the producer's like, well, isn't that kind of a cop-out? And he just kind of shrugs his shoulders. And then they have another mission. And they have to fly fighter planes. And it's like 10 Gs that they can get up to.
Are they actually flying them, or are they co-piloting them?
They're co-piloting,
Okay.
but I think
Someone
they
would
take control.
Someone would 100% die if they were flying them.
I wish. Who passed out? Dean and Chris and another person passed out. I think it was Kayla who passed out also. And then they wake up a few seconds later and are super confused for a couple seconds. Like, where am I? Oh, we're riding the plane. Okay.
That would be a very startling thing to wake up
Yeah.
to. You're disoriented because you passed out and you're in a fucking fighter jet.
Yeah. Dion, because he has no money, decides to go panhandling because he's just having a good time.
Oh my god, that dude, you would see that dude.
Yeah.
Crust punk ass shitbird.
But so he gets like $7 or something, and then feels really guilty when he sees an actual homeless person.
Yeah.
And gives him all the money he
idiot.
Then they go to the casino. Dean loans Dion $200 at the casino. Dion bets the entire $200 on black at a roulette table. Where do you think that ball lands? On the roulette table.
I bet it did land on black.
Oh no, but it didn't. It landed on red.
Oh, good.
And Dion's all upset. He's like, "Oh no, I lost $200." And then in the talking head, Dean's like, "That was my money." And he's like, "I'm not."
Dean, you really should know better.
Yeah, right. He says, "I'm not letting that kid money anymore."
You might as well have just set your money on fire, giving it to Dion in a casino.
Right. Chris talks to Kayla about Mormonism and reveals that he was abused physically and emotionally and sexually. Do you want to hear what Chris went through in his Mormon church? It's real creepy.
Boy, we're getting serious here. I don't know.
All right. I'll be quick.
Trigger warnings, whatever.
Yeah. Apparently somebody in an authoritative position in the church would buy him underwear when he was a kid, and then have him wear it and talk to him over the phone while this dude would masturbate. How fucked up is that?
But that producer feels real fucking stupid having asked him whether that was a cop-out.
Yeah. He then went and told someone that this was happening, and they told him that he should repent.
Yep, of course they did. Why wouldn't they?
Whew. Yeah, so
that never happens in organizations like that.
He's obviously real sensitive about Jenna's sheltered Mormon beliefs.
Yeah.
And then later in the episode, there's a phone call for Chris. It's Matt, one of the producers, and he tells Chris to go into the confessional and pick up the phone that's on the seat. He does so, and the phone plays a video, and it's a mission for him, and only him, and he has to tell Jenna the truth about the leak, which is the episode. The episode title was The Leak. So he does. And
I can see that on your notes. Episode title.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that. So he tells her what happened. Apparently, they got real mad at each other, and he was ranting to one of his friends over the phone, and his friend leaked the information. And she's calm but fairly upset still. Then in the confessional, she says that she is done with Chris.
Sorry, did you mention earlier, did he actually tell her what happened with the church that he was in, or did he tell someone else?
He told Kayla.
Okay.
Yeah. She's trying to write this article on Mormonism and is going to move to Utah and research this. She wants to be a journalist, I guess.
Bringing the golden pussy to Utah.
Want to talk about the immunity challenge now? Real World Roundup is over.
It has been rounded up.
It's been rounded up. You know everything now about the real world.
That got real.
It did.
It got real in that world, let me tell you.
It sure did. So the immunity challenge, they have to stack blocks on a beam without touching this obstacle that is balancing the beam. Once the blocks are all stacked, they have to knock them down like dominoes, and then the last domino rings a gong. So they all do their thing. Michelle gets super close to winning, but her blocks drop with 2 left.
Very close.
Yeah.
This is a really cool challenge, by the way.
It was really cool. I hope they bring it back. Jason gets close but doesn't make it. Same thing happens to Debbie. And finally, little Miss Julia wins.
Julia was going very... I think it's commented on by Jeff that she's just very steady with hers and deliberate. And eventually that pays off for her because she made a point. Everyone was thinking about getting them all stacked up in time and doing that first. and she made a point of having them all spaced perfectly so that they would all fall down.
Yeah, she did a real good job. She didn't drop any at any point, did she?
I don't think so.
Good for her.
Julia, she's in my final four.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, she was last week too, but she is now.
Yeah. So they get back to camp, and Debbie talks to everyone in her alliance, which includes Julia, according to Debbie, about splitting the vote between Ty and Scott, and says, we already mentioned, she says, there's no way the three of them have an idol. You're right, they don't have an idol. They have two.
So you were right.
Good job, Debbie. So naturally, Julia, riding down the mill, tells Scott the plan. Aubrey is still worried about Debbie because she doesn't believe that Julia is sleeping with the enemy. Aubrey and Sydney conspire to get rid of Debbie.
Also, Debbie, how do you not know that Julia is conspiring with them when at one point she sees Ty's chicken is running around, and she goes, I'll go get Ty, that damn chicken, and walks away right after they've been talking about whether she's playing both sides. Like, wow, weird how Julia keeps leaving.
So Aubrey is still worried about that. Sydney approaches Michelle about taking out Debbie. Aubrey does the same with Joe. Joe refuses, though. Smart guy. He always sticking to his word and always voting for the wrong person. Aubrey and Sydney then have to talk to Julia, which may be tough to do. And they talk to Julia, and she agrees to vote out Debbie. But also, you can't really trust Julia, so it's all up to Julia.
But Julia does say in a talking head that Debbie is someone she wanted to eliminate soon.
Yeah.
So this works really well for what she's planning to do anyway.
Yes. But she also had reasons to get rid of Sydney because she is very strong and has a good shot at winning. So,
yeah.
It's up in the air. Hey, Thomas, you know what it's time for?
Oh.
Wildlife! Whoops. Let's try that again. Wildlife! Wildlife!
Wildlife!
This is the best introduction we have. For
Wildlife!
This is great.
Wildlife! Got some live ones there.
Mm-hmm. Live in studio.
It's still just... It's like I'm listening to it for the first time every time.
Feels like the first time? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Foreigner. Great song.
Great song. The best song, you might say.
No.
You wouldn't say that?
No, I wouldn't.
Alright, so this week we've got a snake, we got some birds, we got some eagles, we got a weasel-looking thing, it might be a squirrel, I don't know. There's a lizard, and there's a blue gecko with some orange spots.
That one was cool. I liked that one.
I looked that one up. It's the fucking coolest thing.
Oh, man!
Okay, so it's called a tokay gecko. Its Latin name is gecko.
Eee.
The second gecko, I think, is actually.
Do you think that's the name?
Ks.
By the way, do you think that's the name of the gecko? It's just gecko. It's like how Mario's name is Mario.
I hope so. It can change its color based on its location. The gecko's call is also responsible for a slang name given to it by U.S. soldiers during the Vietnam War. They called it the "fuck you lizard."
Ooh.
Do you want to hear the call?
Yes, I do.
I downloaded it from Wikipedia. This is just jungle noise. How cool is that? Isn't that great?
Fuck you.
Yeah. I love it.
It's a really cool gecko.
I know. Oh, it only gets better. So it's significant in many East Asian countries where folklore has attributed supernatural powers to it. It is a symbol of good luck and fertility, and it is believed to be descended from dragons.
I mean, when I saw that gecko, I was like, I'm trying to fuck.
Yeah. Favorite wildlife shot this season, without a doubt.
It was a really good one.
Maybe ever in the history of Survivor.
Number one all time.
Jeff, good job on that. He picks out all the wildlife shots. He does a lot.
I'm glad you appreciate my work.
All right, so Debbie doesn't blame... we're in tribal council now. Debbie doesn't blame Julia for joining the guys' team in the reward challenge. Ty says that he thinks idols will come into play this tribal.
Crazy. Why? I don't know why you would think that.
Well, surprise. Scott interrupts Jeff and says, Jeff, we can just tell everyone what's going to happen. And Jason's like, I think that's a great idea. I will say, these two, least favorite now. Mm-hmm. But this whole thing was
a nice moment.
I really enjoyed this. Ty reveals his idol. Jason reveals his idol. And Jeff, trying to clear things up, says, Ty, you've got an idol and you're playing it? And Ty's like, yeah, obviously. And Jason says that he and Scott will Rochambeau to decide who will use his idol. And whoever out of the three of them doesn't have an idol just has to hope they don't get the votes. So at this point, everybody is whispering in everyone else's ears. And it's Jason, Scott, and Ty are just sitting there gleaming. And then they go to vote. And Jeff asks if anyone wants to play their idols. Jason and Scott stand up, play rock, paper, scissors. Scott wins. And Jason decides he's just going to give Ty his idol. And Ty says, I accept your idol, and I will sit down. Jeff reads the votes. Got one for Scott, then Sydney, Scott, Sydney, another one for Sydney, then 4 for Debbie.
Debbie's out.
I was real nervous.
That Sydney was gone. I was
Sydney
too.
Was going away.
She's been our pick to win for such a long time.
Let's get straight into predictions then.
Oh, Jeff also was just still loving this.
Oh yeah, he mentioned this is like one of the best tribal councils there's ever been.
It's great. This is one you're going to see a lot. This has been a surprisingly awesome season.
It has been, yeah. I remember you saying early on, like, I think it was before the season aired. You were like, I'm worried that because they switched the airing schedule of these two seasons, this one won't be as good because they didn't want to have 2 bad seasons in a row. Boy, were you wrong.
2 really great seasons in a row. Also, apparently Jeff's explanation for that is that they wanted to bring people along slowly to the Super Idol thing, and the change with that. Because last season they toyed with the idols a little bit, having them in challenges and having them all look different. Yeah. So I think we could handle it, but I guess that was the reason for it.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe Jeff's just talking out of his ass.
I think it also... I mean, it's just the scheduling of it makes more sense from a production standpoint, but I think it would be weird for them to bring in the Super Idol for this season and then in the next season not have that. And then, like the season after that, bring it back. Although I guess they've done that before.
I also think they shouldn't have Super Idols. I think that it's dumb.
It's super powerful.
It's way too powerful, yeah. It's OP. They gotta nerf that.
Yeah. I don't think they expected the 2 idols to end up in the same alliance when they came up with that idea.
But that's inevitably what's going to happen.
Eventually, yeah.
I mean, if someone is going to use a Super Idol, that's kind of the way to... Either they find 2 idols or they have to team up with somebody, so...
Yeah. I'd be surprised if they brought it back without change. They'll probably do something else with it. I don't know. We'll see next season.
Also, I need to point out, at this tribal council, they lead the jury out. Neil is wearing an ice cream cone shirt. It's just a shirt with an ice cream cone on it, like a graphical drawing of it with no sleeves cut off. Mm-hmm. Really good look for Neil. Yeah. Nick is there. They cut to Nick like 3 times, and Nick is making the dumbest possible face every single time.
He is a dumb face, McDumbface.
He really is. How's your face? Dumb? Yes.
Well, my name is Dumbface McDumbface, so
it better be.
You would assume it is.
Please, Mr. McDumbface lives in Florida. Call me Dumbface.
Predictions. Who you got winning this whole thing?
It's a little more up in the air now. I think Sydney's not as safe as I thought she would be. I feel like it'd be recency bias to say Julia, and I do think Julia, 1, is not safe, and 2, might not win a jury vote. Yeah. Although she hasn't really done anything to actively piss anyone off. I think she, by voting Debbie, kind of is probably going to mend fences a little bit with Aubrey and Sydney.
But if Aubrey and Sydney aren't on the jury, that doesn't really help her cause.
Yeah, I guess not. I feel like if she makes it to the final three, would get votes in like a I respect the way you played way.
Yeah.
She hasn't done anything blatantly underhanded.
I think Debbie, based on who's in the jury now, I think Debbie would vote for Julia just because she's a woman. And she respects her gameplay at that as well. Neil would vote for Julia because they were on the same original tribe, and he probably thinks she's super hot. And that seems like something Neil would vote for.
Really?
Yeah,
I would get that vibe.
Not Neil, sorry, Nick.
Oh, Nick. Yeah, Nick would do that.
And then I could see Neil voting for Julia.
On like a gameplay basis.
Yeah. And because Debbie respects her and Debbie and Neil have a relationship.
Neil's a strategy guy too. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think Julia's a bad pick.
I'm going to go with Julia.
Yeah.
We'll see how things are with Sydney. I think my final four right now, I think that Scott and... I think Ty is eventually going to turn on Scott and Jason. I think that's his best move.
Probably. Keep him in his alliance until they use that super idol, and then flip to the other side.
So I think my final four is Julia, Sydney, Ty, and Aubrey.
I would say, okay, so by winning the whole thing, I was thinking Sydney because I thought she orchestrated the whole Debbie thing, but then I thought about it and I realized it was all Aubrey's idea. Like, Sydney was obviously a major component of that, but I think Aubrey had a lot more to do with it. So I'm picking Aubrey.
It's a strong choice.
But my final four would be same as you, Aubrey. You know what? No, Aubrey, Sydney, Julia, and Michelle. I was going to say Scott, but I think Michelle.
No, Michelle's a solid choice. Michelle is going to be interesting, though, because she is kind of at the bottom of the pecking order of those guys, so she might have to make a splash if she wants to get to the final three.
She hasn't ruffled any feathers for the most part. She obviously is smart. So I could see her making some, maybe not big moves, but moves that are big enough to keep her in the game.
Yeah. I would not be surprised if she made it to the final four or the final three. I think she's a good player.
Yeah. And she's totally underrated. Like, the expectations for her are low.
Oh, she's completely under the radar right now, which is a good place to be.
Yeah. Especially when there's only 8 people left. To still be under the radar is really impressive.
She's under the radar in a way that she can use to her advantage, whereas Joe is in a way that just eventually he'll get eliminated.
I honestly forgot Joe was even still in the game.
Yeah, he's not going to do anything with it. Also, in the exit interview for Debbie, she calls Scott and Jason wankers, and I really like that.
Oh, she did?
She just said,
that.
You know, I obviously this came down to I didn't play well enough. She said, I'm just bummed that I got eliminated before one of those wankers.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, Debbie, I am too.
Immunity, who you got next week?
Oh, I should have gone with my gut last week and picked Julia. I was thinking hard about it. Boy. I'm going to go with Michelle.
You know what? That's what I wrote too. I'm pulling for Michelle. Michelle's the new Sydney.
Yeah. No, Sydney is still the Sydney.
Sydney will always be Sydney. But
you know what? Actually, just because it's not fun if we pick the same people,
okay,
I'm gonna pick Sydney.
Okay, fair enough. Who do you think is getting voted out next?
Man, that is tough. It's tough because I might have to pick someone I don't want to get
voted
out.
There are reasons everyone should be voted out, and there are reasons each person won't be voted out, so it's really hard to weigh all of those options. For me, it came down to Joe for me. Because I think he will get enough votes that should any idol be played for whoever gets more votes, his votes will become the votes needed to get him out.
Yep.
I don't think that everybody's going to turn on him. No, we have to get this old man out who has no chance of winning.
I'm going to say Jason, just because if Ty turns on those guys, Jason is the one that's going to be on the chopping block first.
Okay. I can see that happening.
And Jason doesn't have an idol anymore. Those guys have a super idol, but Ty is the one in possession of the super idol.
Yes, but you can play it for anyone. So...
Ty wouldn't play it for Jason, he'd play it for Scott.
You think so?
Yeah.
All right. We'll see. And also, it's not a super idol until it's played as a super idol. It's still two separate idols at this point. Do you have any other predictions?
I guess my prediction is Ty is going to break and turn on that alliance.
Okay. Where the points stand now, still a tie game. Still a tie game.
Still a tie game.
Because his name is Ty.
Still a tie game.
Okay. I don't know why you said it like that.
Just for emphasis.
Okay.
Do you want me to just add one more?
Yeah, let's do it one more time.
Still a tie game. Jeff, you can use that at any point you want.
I don't see how it would... I guess if the vote was tied.
Yeah.
Still a tie game.
I gotta say, though, that is some classic Real World. I didn't say it in the previous segment, so I really wanted to.
Indeed it is. So it's 3-3 still. Hey, Thomas, it was 16 days until the Challenge Rivals 3. Are you pumped? Are you excited?
They're gonna overlap, right?
They'll probably overlap for a week or two, yeah.
It's 2 weeks of the challenge. I'm not gonna be watching.
You're gonna miss out. I'll do a Real World roundup for that too.
Okay.
Like, Bananas is the worst.
When is Real World gonna be over?
Fucking who knows? Hopefully never. I love seeing Dion be poor and seeing other people be racist and other people be not racist. Real World roundup. Remember to use that hashtag Bananas on Survivor so we can get Johnny Bananas on the next season of Survivor, which they're probably already filming. So the one after that.
The one, yeah. On an upcoming season of Survivor.
We don't know that he's not on this upcoming season of Survivor.
Maybe he is. Maybe it'll be a dramatic reveal.
We didn't even know.
He's on this season of the challenge.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
Of course he is. He's with Sarah Rice, who is named Sarah Patterson now. She got married. But anyway, he thought they were friends. Then she turned on him and voted him out. And the last elimination of Battle of the Exes 2, which was 2 years ago, I think. And then she was off this season, and now she's back.
So now they're rivals.
And from what I've heard, they do not get along. It's gonna be It's gonna be real challenging.
Crazy
for them. I have another podcast. It's called the Crash Test Podcast. Check it out. We have a Twitter for this. It's called DYWSLN. Yep. My Twitter is Jake Scheidel.
Email us didyouvwatchlastnight@gmail.com.
Yep. Be sure to do that.
Remember, as always, to sign your emails. Your pal Jeff Probst.
Yep. All right.
Also, I mentioned it earlier in the episode, but please follow Old Dogs 2009 on Instagram.
I'm also on Instagram. You can find it. All right, Thomas. As always, have a great summer.
Deuces.
There we go.
Life is brilliant. My life is brilliant. My love is pure. I saw an angel, of that I'm sure. She smiled at me on the subway. She was with another man. But I won't lose no sleep on that, 'cause I've got a plan. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. It's true. I saw your face in a crowded place, and I don't know what to do, 'cause I'll never be with you. Yes, she caught my eye as we walked on by. She could see from my face that I was fucking It's time to face the truth. I will never be with